My name is Jeff Beusser. I have had the distinct pleasure of knowing the Clark family for several years. Opportunity to do life together. Spent time with families and just cherishing this country and what our hearts are after. Got to meet Josh and Chelsea in a small group at our church several years ago, and just enjoy doing life with them and getting to know the kind of people they are and the kind of person that Josh is and what his heart is after. And very, very, very fortunate to be able to introduce them tonight and stand beside them and back them on this cause and the mission that God's called them to tonight. So without further conversation from me, I'm going to hand it over to Josh tonight, and let's get this thing off tonight.
Jeff, thank you so much for the kind introduction, and thanks for being a part of this team and being the patriot that you are. Gosh, listening to that song gets me fired up every time. I know it does you as well. For those of you who heard that prior to the start of this meeting, proud to be an American, and I know that all of you are. Some of you may have come to this meet and greet today and you're thinking, okay, I heard there's a celebrity in the race, and if you're hoping to meet one, let me just tell you right from the start, I am not a celebrity. I can't run the 40-yard dash in 4 seconds. I didn't win a Heisman Trophy. I hope I don't disappoint, but I am a patriot like all of you. And the reason why I know you're a patriot is I know if you're taking time out of your Sunday afternoon to be here with us, to learn about who are the candidates in this race, who is running to serve me, and who will best represent our state and represent our country, that certainly makes you a patriot. So I want to thank you so much for actually caring to get involved and invest some time. So I told you who I'm not, but let me tell you a little bit about who I am. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you why I'm running, what I see the issues as being, and why I believe, and I say this in all humility, but why I believe that I'm the only one who has the energy to win this and has the experience to deliver results on day one. So a little bit about me. And you're gonna meet my wife, as Jeff said, a little bit later in this meet and greet. But a little bit about me first. I grew up in Suwanee, Georgia. I like to say, I came from a small family, a dog and a cat, and a few siblings. And then as soon as I tell you what a small family, there was 10 of us. I'm the oldest of 10. That's probably not your average family, but it was a small farm. And I like to say we were the poor talked about, because my father was a pastor of a small church. And so didn't have a lot, but we were rich in values and American values. Hard work, faith in God, serving others. I was homeschooled. My mother was a teacher and she taught us. And so I loved history. I loved learning about our founding fathers. At an early age, I got to learn to serve, and really kind of in a greater capacity than normal for a child, because my mother has one kidney and no spleen, and missing several organs from a sledding accident when she was a teenager. So as a result, and her having a large family, she started having some serious health challenges. So as the oldest, I had to step up, and didn't get to play sports and do some of those things, because those are a privilege. In America, we're blessed to get to do those things, and so many of our children that want to. I wanted to, but it was a privilege. So I ended up getting to serve in other ways, which, looking back, I'm thankful. Later on, I ended up getting to help my parents with the business that they started, and was very involved in that. And so I want to change a thing. In fact, it's a lot of that is why, all of that makes who I am today. But the serving part was ingrained at an early age. My mother was always asking, how can we use our gifts, our talents, our abilities to go out there and make the world a better place? And so right out of high school, I started getting involved with helping get conservatives elected. There was a verse that really had an impact on me, and it said that when the godly are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people groan. And so anyway, I started wanting to just help get good people elected. So in my 20s, I was building businesses. I got married to my childhood sweetheart. So you're gonna meet here soon. I've known her since I was 5 years old. Crazy story there, but she actually proposed to me when she was 5 years old. I know it's hard to believe. When you meet her, you're gonna say, "Okay, you're a lucky guy," and I am. I closed that deal, by the way, before she was old enough to know any better. So we got married young, and anyway, went off. We have 6 children now. You'll see a picture of them on our website, votejosh.com. But anyway, while I was building businesses, I was also getting involved trying to help get good people elected. I never saw myself or had an ambition to be in office, but I wanted to be the business guy. I wanted to be the person who helped support others because I felt like there was such a great need. At that time, Georgia was squarely was all Democrat. It was all in the blue column. And so I got to work helping from local races to like the first, my friend Melvin Everson and David Casas, of course, Cuban and African Americans since the Reconstruction period, and was proud to. We had a bunch of Republicans early on, but the Dems chased them all out. That's another story if you read history. I love history in Georgia. But anyway, proud to be a part of that. Then I got involved in statewide elections, helping get rid of our two Democrat U.S. senators in 2002 and 2005. And then at 30 years old, I got the call from a friend of mine who challenged me to run. And it's a story for another day. It's a crazy story, but halfway through, I said, I'm not running. Just had my best month ever in business, and we were headed to Bolivia to work with a friend and building orphanages and supporting that. But anyway, Lord really got our attention, and shortly after I said no, I realized that was I was supposed to run. So anyway, we did, and it was supposed to. I was 30 years old. I was running against somebody who was very, very wealthy, very well known. Our state newspaper said would be the next governor. And we just rolled up our sleeves. We went to work, and an amazing team came together. And one thing you'll learn about me, if I'm passionate, feel called to something, I'm all in, I'm all out, and nobody's going to outwork me. But I can't do this alone. And so we had a great team, and we won in a landslide. 4 people in the race. We won a landslide 70-30. And so it's a privilege. I served for a couple of terms, and I really felt like I got to make an office, make a difference in office. When I would walk every morning, when I get there to the Capitol and walk under that dome, every morning I wanted to just stop and pray and think about what a privilege it was that I served the people and that I was there about the people's business because they had sent me. And so I got to do things like serve on appropriations, on health and human services, small business and job creation, where we helped to cut red tape and regulations to help small businesses thrive. I understand businesses because I've built several businesses, still own a couple of those today. But some of the things I got to do is reduce, balanced budgets. Ever heard of that? And that's something we need to take to Washington, D.C. Got to help work with Clark Howard to clean up identity theft of minors. One of the biggest crimes today that's sadly, targeting our children. Got to help cut taxes for hardworking American families. And so it was a privilege to do that. But after 2 terms, I left unopposed. I've always believed that public service should be about a season and not a lifetime career. And so when I left, after that, it's been a privilege over the last 8 years to just try to support others and felt like, hey, I did my duty, and I've been serving in a corporate role for the last 8 years. By the way, one of the things that I wanted to mention also was fighting Obamacare, because you're going to hear me as I talk about some of the issues I'm concerned about today. I believe that the reach of government has gone way too far. People, our elected officials don't understand, many of them don't understand the Constitution and the limited role of government within the Constitution and the enumerated powers of the federal government. And so at the state level, I fought that. In fact, I even got into oppose our leadership at the time. In fact, got called out, and that's one of the I never forget learning that my first year. But the difference in campaigning and talking about smaller government, the difference in talking about standing up for the Constitution, and then having the pressure coming down on you to conform and to fall in line. And so that's what you'll hear me talk about a lot about, and I always have since my early 20s when I was getting involved, saying we've got to hold our local officials accountable. We've got to watch what they're doing, because pretty soon they're going to end up some of them are going to end up running for federal office. Now, I didn't realize that would end up being me, but here I am today. And so thankfully, I have a track record that you can look at. And it makes me unique in this race, by the way. I'm the only person who has served in the legislature. And now here we are running for the highest legislature in the land. So this is no game. I mean, this is no joke. This is 6 years. It's not one of those, you don't want to put people, in my opinion, my humble opinion, you don't want to run people for U.S. Senate who haven't been tested, tried, and proven, because they're, especially at this time in our nation's the crisis that we're in, it's not the time for on-the-job training. And we've seen what happened when we've sent through the years. We've sent people who all said the right things, celebrities, even military. They're heroes of mine. I've got 4 brothers who served on my side, 4 brothers on her side, 13 in all, immediate family members. But just because you're my hero that doesn't mean either that you're going to make a good legislator in the legislature who's going to stand up against big government. It's going to stand up and fight for us in the issues that matter to you and I. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud also of what I got to do in passing the fetal pain bill in Georgia. Georgia was one of the biggest states for abortions. So I was privileged to be a part of that. NRA, Georgia Right to Life gave me their highest ratings. I earned the Defender of Liberty Award for having a consistent, 100% consistent conservative voting record. So again, proud of all that. But like I said, I left after 2 terms, and I've been serving as a corporate executive for an international firm, direct sales firm. But here recently, I felt the Lord calling me back. My wife and I, our children, you'll hear from her soon. We're all in on this. But I am alarmed. I am majorly concerned about what's happening to our country, the direction that it's going in. As I told you, I worked hard to help get conservatives in office. And now I feel like, after being gone for 8 years, I look at where we are today. We've lost both U.S. senators. We've got we're in challenging times, to say the least. We're in a crisis. Some of the issues that I'm really concerned about is, look at our budget. When I ran for office, the public debt was around 13 trillion. Now we're at 29 trillion, and we've just raised the debt ceiling to over 31 trillion. Y'all, this has got to stop. And I'm concerned about this. I believe I need to, as we crisscross the state as a family, we'll need to talk more and more about this, because I grew up, as I said, the poor talked about, where we learned to pinch a penny. To this day, I won't walk past a penny without picking it up if I see it. Because to me, if you can't be faithful in that which is least, then you can't be faithful in much. And so I know the difference between needs and wants. And we've got to rein in an out of control Washington that is literally, and I'm measuring my words carefully, this is what I believe, we are stealing from our children and their children. We're literally stealing, and I think it's the epitome of selfishness that we're going to steal from them so that we can get what we want today, not what we need, not what's a necessity, but what we want. When I look at every generation of Americans, I love history, but I look at every generation of Americans and the challenges they face and how they rose up to the occasion. Well, that's why I've walked away from my corporate role. This was not part of my plans. In fact, we thought we were headed to Costa Rica for a year to work with some mission partners and all, but no, we've got a crisis right here in America. And so we're walking away from all that. We had a family meeting. We're all in on this, and we're going to crisscross the state, and we're going to talk about these issues from the budget that's out of control, from open borders that are allowing. We need these open borders. Let me talk about this for a moment. I'm a compassionate conservative, but here's the reality. If you are compassionate, you can't stand by and watch the borders stay unprotected and open as they are. We need secure, protected borders. Why? Because drugs are coming through. Matter of fact, 3 times the amount of opioids are coming across our border than last year. Trump was doing an amazing job on the borders. I don't care what you think about his text and what he said and how he communicated, okay? As far as his record and what he did, the borders were secure. And now open borders has allowed all these opioids to flow over. And guess what the #1 cause of death of young people from 18 to 45 is now? Drug overdoses. It's not cancer. It's not COVID. It's not heart disease. It's none of those things. It's drug overdose. And guess where most of the opioids are coming from? China. They're coming from China. That's another issue. when we talk about the security of our country. So we also have sex traffickers. That's a big issue for me, is sex trafficking. We've got to stop that. In fact, I was talking to somebody from Central America, and they said, Josh, this year, your open borders are exploiting the most vulnerable among us, young girls and even young boys. And they're saying, and this guy does sting operations and all, he says it's gone up significantly. So these are some of the issues. Next is freedom. Freedom is not passed to the next generation in the bloodstream. You and I know that. But I'm afraid that we're too caught up maybe in what we're doing. Not you guys, because you're taking time to be here today. Thank you. But we're so caught up in our prosperity and the blessings that we've had that many of us are asleep and not recognizing that our freedoms, our liberty is being exploited, is being taken away from us. And once you lose it, it's hard to get it back. I look at what's happening with the IRS and the way they're weaponizing the IRS. They're weaponizing our government agencies. I think about religious freedom. I think about the story of the nurse who was a blind, and after she had to quit working, she started going to a park, a public park. She'd sit on a bench, and when somebody would sit down by her, she would share with them her faith. She got sued for that. I mean, if you're paying attention, you'll realize it's not just the vaccine mandates, which that's got me extremely alarmed, and I hope you are as well, whether you're for the vaccine or whether you're not. Requiring people to get vaccinated, forcing them to do so. There is a huge agenda behind that I don't have time to talk about where that goes. But you know what? It might look innocent to you in the moment, but it's like Benjamin Franklin said. He said, if you're willing, those who are willing to exchange their freedom for short-term security shall have nor deserve neither. Shutting down our schools is a very epitome of stupidity. I mean, we are hurting and damaging the next generation. So anyway, freedom. I'm a huge believer in that. Freedom in education, school choice. I've got 6 children. We have our oldest is in public school. The rest of our children all of our children have either combination of homeschool, Christian school, and public school. So I'm thankful for all the options. And I think that parents should have a choice where they send their children. What about this woke cancer culture and the way what they're forcing down our children's throats? It's got to stop. We've got to come together. And that's why our slogan is come together. Because you see, another challenge we have is a lack of civility. I think you see that. I think you would agree with me on that. We've got to come together to solve our problems. One of the things that I was known for is, yes, I was a staunch, strong conservative, but I was known as somebody who brought people together. Because, screaming and yelling and name calling, it might raise money, but it doesn't help us to bring people together to get things done, to heal our nation, to pass conservative legislation. So that's one of the things that I'm really proud of, and I guess I'm grateful for, is one of my giftings, is not only do I have a strong spine, but I can bring people together with compassion and listen to them, even if they're far to the left. We can still take time to listen. And when you listen first, and you seek to understand before you're understood, it's amazing the impact that you can have. And I could tell you stories about that, how I've seen that. But we got to keep moving along. So anyway, I'd like for you, speaking of being all in, this is something that involves the entire family, right? And 12 years ago when I ran, my wife was right there by my side on the campaign trail. And this is not something that she's dreamed of wanting to have a spouse that's in public office, but she understands the price for liberty. And she has, as I said earlier, 4 brothers as well who have served or are serving. So will you help me introducing, please welcome Chelsea Clark.
Hey, hi guys, welcome to, or I guess I'm welcoming myself, but no, thank you for being on the call.
Well, thank you for joining me today, because we have, how many children do we have here right now for our daughter's birthday party?
Well, 25 plus. It's very loud upstairs. I've instructed them all that this is going on. So if you hear crazy noise, it is a lot of teenagers. But anyways, you guys, thanks for being here and learning more about Josh. So yes, all in is definitely what we are as a family. I was just thinking about, as I was listening to, all the issues that Josh is bringing up, that is why we're here. That is why our kids have really caught this, that their futures at stake, their friends' future. We see America at really a tipping point right now. And for us, it's like, are we going to jump all in and do something about this? And so I'm just so excited about fighting the good fight together, that our children are right alongside of us, and they are getting to learn about the issues that we're facing. Yes. I know they already see it, but a little bit about Josh. I heard he was telling the story, just kind of how we met when at a young age, got married at a young age. I was 19, he was 22. But you guys know, when you know, you know. But I actually knew at a young age. I told him I was going to marry him at 5, and
lucky me.
But yeah, no, I'm the lucky one, because what made me fall in love with him at such a young age, and well, it was his heart. It was his heart for others, and I have always seen that. And whether it's in every mission that we've been called on, journey, part of life, his heart is all in. He, as a young child, I just remember witnessing him give his only toy away, being willing to look out for the underdog, give his place up in a game if somebody didn't have it. And so, you know, I'm sure any little girl would fall in love with that heart. I definitely had to fight for him. But he's always had that. And I've gotten the first row seat for 37 years now of who he is. And as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as somebody in business, and he's also served 2 terms as our state legislator in Georgia. And, you know, as a wife, you know, he mentioned that, you know, I'm not crazy about, or, you know, like
not a political junkie
go,
or anything like that.
be in political office. But I don't even know the proper terms. But what I do know is he has a heart to serve, and I do not have to worry about him going to Washington and it changing him, because he's served those 2 terms and it did not change who he was as a husband, as a father, as somebody right here, you know, in our community. And to all those you who know and love him, you got to witness that as well. So I'm just so excited that, you know, I get to be alongside this journey. Our kids get to be part of it, and we get to send him to Washington. One thing I will mention is we cannot gamble in this election with who we put into the general and then in the U.S. Senate, because he has the energy to win, the experience to deliver. We see it firsthand. And what is so exciting, you know, talking about, you know, not gambling, is he has a track record of serving as your state legislator, and we know that he is a strong conservative because of how he votes. So I am so excited to send him to Washington to fix it, serve honorably, and then return back home to us the same guy he is today. All right, guys, I'm going to turn it back over to him. And
aren't I lucky?
Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much, honey. And yeah, speaking of coming back, first thing I did was sign a term limit pledge. So we're going to work on getting term limits passed in Washington, D.C., and a balanced budget amendment so that this craziness can stop in Washington. So anyway, we're going to wrap this up here in just a couple minutes. But I want to share with you it's a joke, but it's really not a joke. Hopefully it'll bring a little laughter. It always gets people at the end, but I hope it'll be thought provoking as well. So there was a U.S. senator who was on his way to a meet and greet, I believe it was, and he had a wreck. He died, and he came before the pearly gates, and there was Peter. And Peter said, "Well, do you want to go to heaven or hell?" And he said, "Well, gosh, I always hoped I'd make it to heaven. I didn't know it's as simple as just choosing. I'll choose heaven." And St. Peter said, "Well, it doesn't work that way. Here's how it works. Our policy is you spend 24 hours in hell, and you spend 24 hours in heaven, and then you make your decision." He said, "Well, if it has to be that way, okay." So he goes down, 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 and the door is open. And when the doors open, to his delight, it's a beautiful golf course. He sees his friends all off in the distance. So next thing you know, he's teeing up. It's a great day on the golf course. Or that night, they're eating steak and caviar and drinking champagne and having a good old time. And before you know it, his time's up. And the angel says, "All right, well, now it's time to go to heaven." So he thinks, "I can't imagine it being any better." Next thing you know, he's out on the clouds worshiping the Lord with the saints. And it's a good time. And pretty soon his time's up. And the angel says, "Well, now you got to make your decision." And he said, but your decision, whatever you make, it's final. He said, okay, well, I never thought I'd say this. He said, but seeing as that most of my friends are in hell and having so much fun, he says, I'll choose hell. He says, okay, all right. So he goes down, down, down. The doors open. And now to his horror, it's a desert land, fires everywhere, friends dressed in rags. I mean, you can imagine he's angry. I mean, he feels like he's been lied to. He's been deceived. And so he goes and he finds the devil. And he says, I don't understand what's going on. And the devil says, oh, that's easy to explain. Yesterday we were campaigning. Today you voted. So, I think it's a serious joke, right? Isn't it? Because too often, we send people to Washington, D.C. only to be disappointed, when we find out that they said the right things, their consultants told them what to say. By the way, I've written everything on my website. It's not what other people are telling me. It's not what consultants are saying. It's me. Okay, that's my voice. And as Chelsea said, I have the record to back it up where I stand. And so I want to thank you for taking time to choose wisely. And I hope and ask that you would consider going all in and voting for me, and just rather than rolling the dice and just hoping to get the right person to serve you and to serve our country in Washington, D.C. in this time of crisis. Also, I want to just thank my team. We've got an amazing team that's coming together, and it's not about me. It's about America. It's about restoring and saving America for the next generation. I want to thank Jeff Beusser, who got on here earlier and introduced me. Jeff is a CFO for a large construction company, 450 million and rapidly growing, Reeves Young. And he has walked away from all of that. Now you may be asking, well, what's the salary? None. He said, I'm with you for 7 years. I'm going to work for free with you for the next year just to help you get elected, because I know every dollar is going to count in this race. He said, and then I'm with you for a full term in DC. And you know what? I've always believed that accountability is important. Can you imagine the accountability that provides when a friend of yours walks away that you didn't even ask, walks away from everything because he feels called to be a part of this? You see, folks are coming together like this. This is an unusual, not your everyday campaign. In fact, I got a brother who, same thing, all in, walked away from his business to say, I'm going to help you with this. And lots of people are doing that, volunteering in all kinds of roles and capacities. And so I'm going to ask you, will you consider going all in? I believe that there's no better sacrifice than sacrificing for our country, just like the people have gone before us. Like my brothers were in trenches with bullets whizzing by them, for our country. And so the least that we can do is show up, contribute, get the right people in Washington rather than complaining about things. Let's do something about it. So I'm asking you, will you do something about it? Will you do something about it today? All that it takes is for evil to prevail, is for men of good conscience to do nothing. And so here's the action that I'm asking you to take. I'm asking you, will you do 3 things? Will you pray for us? I believe in the power of prayer. Will you pray? Will you ask others to pray for us? Number 2, will you give at least $10 or more? When you see the kind of money we got to raise, you might say, what's $10? It makes all the difference in the world. You might give more, and I appreciate that if you're willing to sacrifice, but your sacrifice might be $10. Maybe you give 10 now, and then later on you're able to give more, but will you give at least 10? Also, after you've done that, then will you then ask at least 5 other people? Will you ask them to join us? Text them our website, votejosh.com. Share with them our 2-minute video that's right there at the top. Invite them to our next meet and greet or host a meet and greet. But here's our plan. I know how to build grassroots movements. I know how to get it done with your help. Here's what we need. We need 5,000 people who will commit to texting 5 people, asking them to give $10, and then asking them to do the same thing. And if you'll do that, if that'll duplicate 3 times, that's 75 people each person will reach. We can find 5,000. If you spent 30 minutes today, I'm willing to bet that you're willing to invest in your country and invest in somebody who's willing to serve you. So we're making the sacrifice. We sold our boat. We're selling, Christmas was very different in our house, but it's a privilege to do it. I read our family read this Patriots pledge. I want to leave it with you and thank you for whatever you decide to do. You've already given a lot just being here today. Patriots pledge says, this was found, by the way, in the fallen soldier's pocket from World War I. He said, America must win this war. Therefore, I will work. I will save. I will sacrifice. I will endure, I will fight cheerfully, and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. See, that's the power of one person. One turns into two, and then all of a sudden you have a group. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful and committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. One of my favorite quotes my sister shared with me in my early 20s. So thank you. Thank you for getting involved. Please go to votejosh.com and get involved. And I look forward to having the privilege of serving you and helping to restore America, stop the Biden and Raphael Warnock radical socialist agenda in Washington, D.C., and protect this country for our children and children's children.